Welcome back. So right now we're just returning a message right here whenever we are trying to log in and we are failing. And it has no JWT token. It has a message that says username and password correct. And then it puts it up here so you can see it. So that's okay, but I would like to change this. I would like to, instead of always returning okay, just try and change what the backend returns depending on if we're logged in or not. So let's jump all the way to the backend code so we can change that so that we can start actually returning. Right now I'm always returning okay, but I would like to instead return an unauthorized if something is incorrect when I'm trying to log in. I want to do this to show you guys how you can change these different action results depending on what actually happens and what response you want to give to the user who tries to use your backend. So let's try and jump into the generate token right here. And in the generate token, let's try and jump all the way down to the method of generate token in the actual class. I'll just click right here to find the class that's open. And it's this class right here that we're inside the package of security. Good. Inside that one, what we do right now is we start by getting the user. We check if the user is authenticated. And if he is authenticated, we return the right token. And that's what we built earlier. Perfectly fine. But if he's not authenticated, then instead of actually right now returning just a token with a message, we're going to actually do something differently. We're going to instead actually throw a new exception right here. So we're going to throw an authentication exception right here to kind of explain that something went wrong. And in that authentication exception, all I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in the message we had before saying username and password is incorrect. So now that we set this up in our security service, so it throws that exception, we can go all the way back to our auth controller now, and we can say, let's try and actually wrap this request right here in a try catch. So I'll wrap this in a try catch like this, and I'll just put in the thing we are trying to do, in this case, trying to get the token in here. And I'll actually do one more thing. I want to put this inside and okay, so I'm very clear about what's going to happen. If everything goes well, I'll return that okay as the reply or the response right here in my current code. Now, if any kind of exception happens, what we can do is actually we can return a status code right here. So I'll say return status code. I'll send a 500 back and I'll just say, please contact admin like this. So I can also fine-grain this a little bit more. So I'll say there's another catch right here. It could also end up being an authentication exception. And let's just call it AE like this, authentication exception. And let's just import that authentication exception like this. There we go. Now with this authentication exception, what do I want to do? I actually want to return, instead of the status code and okay, I want to return an unauthorized right here. And the unauthorized is going to get the message from the AE exception right here. That was the one we just built again. So now what's going to happen is if we try this, if everything goes well, we'll return an okay. If something goes wrong with an authentication exception, I'll return unauthorized with the message. And if everything fails right here because of something else, we might get a null reference exception or something, I'll just return a status code of 500 and just explain that something went horribly, horribly wrong in the system right here. Good, let's try and actually restart our server now and test this and see what happens in our system. And then we can go and fix this in the next session. Again, go to the security service and you can see we now throw this authentication exception if we can actually not authenticate ourselves. And then we use that authentication exception in the auth controller to kind of set an unauthorized back to the user, which is a 401, I think. But let's try and see this in action now. We'll try and log in again, and I'll try and just do the login, and hopefully now I'll get back something that's different. I'm getting back an error actually, a response of status code 401 unauthorized. And actually you'll see right here that unauthorized has the error right here of user or password not correct. So happy days, we just figured out how to actually change our backend a little bit so we can be more fine-grained about what's going to happen depending on what's going to be executed in our code. Let's end it right there. Now we just need to figure out how to use this unauthorized exception or unauthorized response inside our front end, and that's what we're going to do next lesson. So see you next time. Bye.